Are you brand new to emergency preparedness and you're not quite sure where to start, but you know you want to build a strong foundation without a lot of fuss and fluff? Well, I have a whole series called Prepper 101 that is going to walk you through each and every step of building a strong preparedness foundation without spending a lot of time, money, or energy. Today we're going to be jumping into water storage, part one of our two-part water special, as I help you think through the most effective and efficient water storage for you. Now, I want to caveat before I jump right into everything and say that there are many ways to store water and that there are going to be nuances you might want to think through. However, if you don't want to have to sort through reviews of individual particular companies and brands, you want actionable advice you can work on today, this is the exact right series for you. Hello, if you're new there, my name is Brecky and this is Sustainable Prepping, where we empower through preparedness. It is my dream and my goal and my hope to empower 1 million millennials and anyone else who want to be prepared for the emergencies that we are likely to face. Water scarcity is going to be a top emergency anytime we have a grid down situation. And since many of those grid down situations are going to be caused by natural disasters, we can assume water could be contaminated. Having a 1 to 2 week supply of water in home means that you have a critical buffer if the power is out and there's no way to bring water into your home. Trust me, collecting water by hand is a massive effort, and in areas without plumbing and without sophisticated systems for piping water in, people can spend hours every day collecting and bringing home water and then purifying it. We're going to be talking about water storage today and what you should be thinking through as you plan your water storage. In a lot of older prepping videos, there was a recommendation that you could take emptied juice bottles or soda bottles and you could clean them out, bleach them out, and then use those for water storage. While in a pinch for a very short-term amount of time, I'm talking about maybe a couple of weeks, that may be possible, it really is best to avoid anything that had food material or any non-water material in it. This is because plastic is porous and plastic is going to allow microbes and tiny microscopic elements of whatever was stored in it before to get into the porous material of the plastic. This is why even in older prepping videos, they say never to try to repurpose milk jugs. In my opinion, it is worth going ahead and purchasing your water storage specifically for water. Please, if you can afford to do so, do not repurpose old juice jugs or soda bottles. While you might do that for a 1 or 2 week period because a storm is rolling in, for longer term, 6 month or more storage, I just suggest you save up and invest in good quality water storage. All right, so I want to put that out there right at the very beginning. Now, when we begin to speak about water storage, we have to start with how much water you need to be storing. The standard recommendation is 1 gallon per person per day for each member of your family. Of course, adding more water for any of your pets. Now, this is a great standard operating system and formula to work with. However, my recommendation is that if you are in a group of 3 or more people, you try to round up and add a little bit of extra water specifically for cooking. A lot of us are going to be relying on freeze-dried or dehydrated foods in our cooking. If you're planning on using rice, if you're planning on using dried beans, even if you're planning on using pasta, all of that is going to take a fair amount of cooking liquid. So my recommendation is for you to add on a little bit of water. For example, a family of 4 is going to go through 28 gallons of water in a week. I would recommend at least rounding up to 30 gallons, giving you a 2-gallon buffer. That is just about a quart of extra water per day that can be dedicated for cooking. I have a family of 6. We just add on an entire extra gallon of water for our cooking and sanitation needs. And that means that we are going to be calculating not 6 gallons of water per day, but 7 gallons of water per day. 7 times 7 is 49. I add that 1 extra gallon in to make those numbers easier, and I am aiming for 50 gallons a week. This gives me a good buffer, and this also ensures that if we happen to have my in-laws over, we have a little bit of extra water storage in place just in case we have guests. One more thing to think about as you are calculating your water storage is if you live someplace that is prone to heat waves, if you live someplace that is prone to very dry conditions like the Southwest of the United States, you might want to add in an extra half gallon into your calculations for every single day. You're going to want to be able to drink most of that 1 gallon of water if you're doing any physical labor in the heat, so you want to add in a little extra for cooking and sanitation. So those are some things to keep in mind. The standard is 1 gallon per person per day. I would suggest if you have a family of 3 or more, adding in a half gallon to a full gallon of cooking liquid. And if you live in a very hot, dry climate, adding in at least an extra half gallon. Those are my recommendations for you. Okay, now you've taken a moment to figure out how much water you need to store. How are you going to store it? Now, you could think about these sort of jugs you can get at the grocery store. They still run roughly $1-ish a piece. And if you're in a pinch, this is something you could do maybe for a day or 2. I know we tend to keep 2 to 4 of these on hand at any given time, and then we recycle them. The problem is those are not designed for long-term storage. They're clear, which isn't ideal for long-term storage. And frankly, you end up getting rid of that plastic and not reusing it, and that creates more plastic trash. Plastic trash is a problem. We don't want to be adding trash where we don't have to be. So let's look at some other long-term options that while you might have to pay more upfront, you'll be able to reuse the container for the rest of your life. Now, 2 of the most accessible options are going to be things like 5-gallon water containers. These are the water cooler containers that you've seen probably at an office job or at least in films about office work. And these are pretty standard and easy to get a hold of. These are designed to hold water for up to 6 months and even a year as long as it's kept in the right conditions. These are designed to be used in a water cooler system. So if you don't want to have a water cooler system in place, just make sure you buy a hand pump to pump out the water. I have 4 of these and they are a great investment. It's a very thick material plastic, but you do have to be mindful to keep them out of sunlight because we don't want to encourage any bacterial growth. Additionally, there are similar items that are stackable 3 and 5 gallon jugs. I also have some of these. Now these are clear. And again, these are a cheaper option and we purchased them when our money was a little bit tighter to get to some of our water goals, but they do stack. And if you have a closet that you could hide them in, a personal closet, a coat closet where they could be away from any vents and away from sunlight, these are a perfectly good, useful tool that can get you your water storage quickly without being expensive. The great thing about these clear plastic ones is honestly, as long as I'm taking care of them, as long as I'm not abusing the material and I am cycling through the water every 6 to 9 months, I could probably get away even with a year, then I can just keep replenishing them until there's the material breaks down. So that is just a great tool if you are on a budget and you don't want to do these 1 gallon jugs, to get these 3 to 5 gallon stackable jugs. Mine were purchased at Walmart and I will make sure I have links down below for what I've purchased so you can see what I spent. If you are someone who is tight on space or the idea of trying to lift 5 gallons or more of water is just outside of your ability, another option is the water brick. Now, water bricks are great for being able to stack them. They can be stacked up to 5 high. They can be stacked flat. They have a handle so you can pull them. Some of them will come with a spigot so they're easy to dump and pour, and they can come in 2 to 3.5 gallon sizes. The problem is they're pricey, okay? Water bricks are expensive and you need a lot of water bricks. Let's say you are doing 3 gallons at a time. If you are trying to get to 100 gallons, that's a lot of water bricks, okay? So this is something that if you have a limitation on your ability to physically lift and you don't mind slowly accumulating these, if you've got the budget, then these are a worthwhile investment, but they are pricey. Now, if you are physically able to lift anywhere from 5 to 7 gallons of water, then my recommendation for the best bang for your buck is to go and buy some kind of camping water jug. A camping water jug is opaque. They sometimes come with spigots and you can invest however much you want to. Now, the ones that I have all came from Walmart or Amazon, but you can certainly go to a military surplus store and spend a pretty penny on a fairly industrial level Water Jug. My dad has a couple from his time in the Army, and he's had them for over 50 years, and those things are almost indestructible. They are designed to be like dropped out of airplanes and tossed off moving vehicles. They are designed for wear and tear. So if you want to invest in that, please do. But know that a military grade water jug is going to cost double what this one is and hold the same amount of liquid. It's also going to be a little bit heavier because the jug itself is heavy. So think about that as you make your plans. Now, I like these 5 to 7 gallon jugs that are designed for camping because they are opaque, which is ideal. We want to keep sunlight from potentially causing bacterial growth in our water. They are a thicker plastic, which means they can be knocked around a little bit without tearing and ripping. And some of them, like the Aquatainer, are designed for being stackable. Part of your decision as you go out and you start purchasing your water storage is going to be where you're going to store it. For example, we have a tiny flex room that was really just like a large closet. It was too small to be an office, but too big to be a coat closet, and it's become our prepping / kitchen overflow room, and we keep some of our water in there. Now, we have kept some of our clear plastic water in there up until recently. We were going to fill in the window, but my husband and I decided we actually want that natural light, so we're going to be moving all of our clear water storage to our bedroom. These containers can be in a space where they get some light because they're opaque, so they give you a little bit more freedom. If you have a room that has a window, you can store these in there and you don't have to keep them in a closet, for example. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do that with this one because it is from Walmart, and I don't know that I trust this to be completely leak proof, but certainly a military grade one you could lay flat like this and slide it under a bed. So they have lots of options. Just look at your budget, look at your space, and look at how much you're trying to store. My recommendation is that you really begin on getting that first week, your first 7 days of water. Take a breather, look at your budget, look at your space, and then double that to get to your first 14 days. Honestly, water is heavy and water is bulky. If you live in an apartment, you do not want to store too much water in one space because your floors may not be reinforced to withstand the weight of water. One of the things you could invest in is a 55-gallon drum. They're very popular in the prepping community. The problem with these is that they're not very mobile. If they get contaminated, the whole thing is contaminated. And frankly, if you live in a rental unit, if you live in an apartment, you can't really get it upstairs, and then most floors aren't reinforced to hold that much weight over time. Water's quite heavy, so that's just something to think about. My recommendation is not that you get a 55-gallon drum or even a 30-gallon drum until you've got at least 3, 6, 7 days of water in other usable containers. These smaller containers you can toss into your car and take with you if you need to evacuate. A 30+ gallon drum is staying where you are, right? It has to stay with your shelter in place situation. Smaller storage gives you a little bit of portability. Okay, so once you've decided on the storage containers that you are gonna jump into, here are a couple of quick tips. The first is that you should wash them out before you use them. Yes, when you get them from a store, you need to wash them out. Now you can do this with hot soapy water and rinse, 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 and pour and pour and pour and make sure they come out clean with no bubbles left in them. You can also do a solution of a teaspoon of bleach mixed into a quart of water, put it in and shake, 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 shake until you've really coated the inside. Pour it out, let it have a couple of minutes to air dry, and then you can pour your water in. You do not need to add bleach or other water purification items like iodine or tablets to the water you're storing if you're pouring it from the tap, because that water already should be clean and good to go. Your water can be stored anywhere from 6 months to up to a year in ideal conditions, and those conditions are stable temperature. You don't want it to get too hot, and you definitely don't want it to freeze. It needs to stay a nice sort of room temperature, somewhere between, 40 and 75. The hotter it gets, the more likely it is to spawn bacteria. But if it freezes, it can actually break down the plastic that you're storing it in. So we don't want either of those. Additionally, you do not want to store your plastic water containers on concrete. Plastic can leach the chemicals out of concrete. So if you are storing them in a insulated garage, for example, make sure you have some wood planks or some carpet remnants underneath so that your water storage is not leaching up the chemicals from the concrete. Finally, if you are ever in doubt that maybe you haven't switched your water out for over a year, or you find that the lid wasn't perfectly sealed and you're a little concerned that there could be some contamination, run your water through whatever filtration system you're going to have set up. You can have water stored, but you should also have water filtration, which will be in the next video. But you can always take your big jug of water and run it through whatever filtration system you have in place, and that will just act as an extra backup. Remember, water is essential to life. You can live up to 3 weeks without food if you're a healthy adult, but you can only live just over 3 days without water. Contaminated water will kill you even faster. So if you do nothing else on your preparedness journey, have at least 7 to 14 days of water, and then plan for your filtration systems so that you and your family will stay hydrated and healthy when everything else goes to heck in a handbasket. Comment down below, my friends, and let me know what you would add to water storage. Now, this is not filtration. This is just storage ideas. Remember that everything you store water in should be food grade. And like I said, it should be used just for storing water, preferably be something brand new. This is going to be something you are investing in. So putting a little bit of money and buying a $15 or $18 camp jug is going to be better than just buying a bunch of these single-use one-time plastics. Those aren't in and of themselves the most terrible thing if you need to go and get a couple of days worth really quickly, but you do want to build something that's going to last and serve you. If you like this video and you want to keep watching more in our Prepper 101 series, check out this video right here. It's going to get you all up to speed on the lighting that you need to stay lit when the lights are out. I hope you guys are all doing well, and until the next video, happy prepping.